Hi, friends. It's Paul Ward here, and welcome to On the Road. Well, we've had quite some excitement, and not the good kind, here in our local Ventura County area recently. We had a fire that burned, I think, over 200 homes in an afternoon in a 24-hour period. It was quite devastating. And so I wanted to bring some folks on who are part of the cleanup crew with Service Master here in our local area in Oxnard. We have Cesar Zavala and CeCe Adame. Welcome to On the Road.
Thank you. Thank you for having us today.
Absolutely. So tell us, guys, how long have you been in I guess you call it the restoration business?
Correct. Restoration business, and I've been doing it for 11 years now. So, fresh out of high school, I decided that this was the industry I wanted to be in. I had multiple family members in the industry and saw how much they enjoyed it, and I just figured I'd give it a try. After giving it a try, I figured it was a fit for me.
Great. Well, it's great that you're passionate about it and that you could spread the word and help our audience understand what it's all about. And Cece, how long have you been doing this?
I'm new to the area. I've been with the company a little bit under a year and a half.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Well,
but I'm very passionate about helping people.
so in restoration, what all areas do you cover?
So, I would say we cover water damage, which can be simply from a pipe break over to weather related, which would be rainstorm, roof leaks, water intrusion through there, backups from toilet, drain lines that crack or fail, um, as simply to a kid putting a toy where in the tub where it doesn't drain and it overflows. We've had it where people forget to turn the water off while they were going to take a bath, and you just never know what's going to be the issue of the day. But there's always some type of accident that happens where people end up with water damage. We do fire as well, which can be like what we're going through now with the wildfire situation, or it could be a typical house fire. We do mold. So, mold as if people had a leak and they didn't know about it, or they were negligent about it and just let it be. And unfortunately, it became mold. We do odor, such as like skunk, um,
Wow.
just various things. People call us in for tenants that they had that smoked in the home, and there's an odor that they can't get rid of. We do trauma as well, which can be anything from suicide over to people not being found that they were dead over a period of time. It could be a dog that bled throughout the house, just various ways that it can occur.
Wow. So you never know what kind of call you're going to get from day to day.
Correct. The one thing we do know is that somebody that's in need of our services, and they're going to need a lot of empathy in order to be able to walk them through it and get them back to whole.
That's a key word right there, empathy, because you never know what folks are going through.
Correct.
Exactly.
And now I mentioned that we had a fire here. It's called the Mountain Fire, and I'm not sure exactly how many homes burned, but it was definitely in the hundreds, and all within a 24, 48 hour period. Um, and all the homes were in the $1 million plus range. Pretty dramatic for the area. You must be very busy with that.
Of course, extremely busy. Ever since the moment the fire occurred, we were getting calls from insurance companies to see if we were able to go out to these properties and see what we can do in order to prevent from the fire to completely wiping them out. They were asking us to grab the garden hose, use the pool water if needed, whatever it was that it took in order for us to prevent from the fire to wiping out the home. And we were out there. We did what we could to be able to save some houses. However, it comes to a point where it's dangerous, and we take the decision that, you know what, it's best if we leave the property instead of us risking ourselves in order to save somebody's house that's materialistic.
Right, right.
Right.
And then when you are able to save a house and it's now full of soot and ash and melted plastics and all kinds of hazardous chemicals, what's the process for cleaning it up and making it habitable again?
So first off, we start off with an inspection because every home, as similar as it can be, as close as it could be to a fire, the fire itself, or a home that burned entirely, every single home is different. So we start off with an inspection, checking the levels of soot and what areas of the home were impacted. Uh, One thing that a lot of people don't think of is soot and ash in their attic.
Hmm.
So that's one of the main areas that we start in. And once we go up there, we'll crawl in the attic and see if there's any ash and soot. If we determine that there is any, we're going to recommend for the installation to be removed, attic to be HEPA vacuumed and deodorized, and then the new installation would have to be installed. In the home itself, another area that doesn't get caught is the ducting for the heating and air. So take a look in there, and it's pretty much whenever a home is that close to the fire, it's pretty much a given that that has to be cleaned. So
Right.
we go ahead and clean the ducting. Then, if we notice any soot in the home, then we start with cleaning. And there's different levels, light, medium, and heavy. Uh, Pretty much the bottom line would be cleaning ceiling, walls, and floor, and the content itself. So, if, for instance, somebody has a bookshelf, we're going to empty the bookshelf, clean the bookshelf itself, and then clean the content as it goes back. Upholstery cleaning for any couches. We do carpet cleaning, area rugs, and if there's anything that we can't handle ourselves, we do bring in a third party company that's going to be able to fulfill the needs of the customer. We do use air filtration devices. They're going to pick up any of the particles that we're making airborne as we're cleaning. We're going to use hydroxyls, ozones in order to be able to properly deodorize uh, the home so that it's habitable for the customer.
So this could take, I mean, weeks, right? If the house is big enough.
Yeah.
Well, considering the sizes of the homes out in this area that we've been dealing in, we're trying to fulfill everyone. So we do have, say, 3 to 5 people on each home,
Hmm.
and it's taking us roughly about a week.
Okay. And then
Keep
how
in
do you,
mind that's
huh?
the interior of the home. Keep in mind we have the exterior, which we can tell pressure washing, the home itself, the roof, the driveways and whatnot in order to get all that set up.
Right. And then how do you deal with the, maybe you've got some advice. How do you deal with the insurance companies? I mean, some seem to be, let's say, cooperative, more cooperative than others. How do you deal with them when these folks have real, problems and the insurance company's like, well, we're not sure about that.
So for us, it's always a big concern whether the insurance company is going to approve the scope of work. So the moment we inspect the home, that's our biggest concern is, and we start to hound them for approvals and present our scope of work, try and get, if they request an estimate, get our estimate as soon as possible, submit it to them so that they can review it for approvals before we start. Because to a homeowner, it might seem like, oh, they're just coming to clean my house. My housekeeper, they charge, I don't know, $300 every time they come in. They're professionals. They're probably going to charge me $1,000. But in reality, it's more than $1,000 considering we're pulling insulation. It's more detailed work in order for us to properly deodorize.
Right.
So considering that, we know it's going to be an expensive process. And the last thing we want is to leave a bill on the insured. So we make sure we get approvals. If for whatever reason we can't get any approvals or they don't approve our scope of work, if there's anything that we need to change, we will. But if it's an automatic no, hey, you don't know, we don't feel that this house was impacted by the wildfire for whatnot, we go ahead and let the customer know that it's not covered, and then we present the estimate over to them, and they can decide whether they want to pay out of pocket.
Gotcha. And I understand, unfortunately, I mean, there's honest people and dishonest people out there, but I understand there's some scams going on right now, just kind of given the scope of the problem.
Yeah, definitely. There's a ton of other companies out there that are knocking door to door.
Mhm.
and they're not being sent out by insurance or recommended by anyone. They're just knocking the doors and letting these people know, hey, we can clean it, we'll take care of it, your insurance is going to pay for it. And no one's 100% sure. No matter how many wildfires we've been through, we're not 100% sure that it's gonna be a covered.
Right.
And considering that, there's a great chance that the customer is going to be left with a bill.
Hmm.
Not only that, the insurance companies work off of a certain software. That software, pretty much you put measurements in and it gives you a price. It's not a price that we can make up.
Right.
So if these companies come in and say, hey, we're going to do it, we're going to get it covered in insurance, you're not going to pay a dime. And even if it is covered, say the insurance says, okay, our estimate was, I don't know, $20,000, but
Hmm.
this these other companies, they're writing and putting their own pricing for it, and maybe it was $30,000 what they wrote up. So the
Right.
insurance company is going to pay the $20,000, and then the customer's left with a $10,000 difference.
Interesting. And I understand, Caesar, you recently went to South Carolina to help up after Hurricane Helene.
Correct. We mobilized out there. We were there for roughly about 7 weeks,
Wow.
and helped a ton of people out there. Everyone's really appreciative out there. Uh, the hurricane just pretty much wiped out a good portion of the state.
Right.
Tons of trees that fell on homes. Um, Same deal, just like the wildfire, people trying to take advantage of the customer. I'm talking about $35,000, $40,000 to remove a tree off of a home, and they're the customers in just desperate to have it done so
Right.
that they can get a tarp placed over the roof, so that trying to mitigate everything they can. And unfortunately, they're signing people's contracts not knowing what the price is supposed to be. And then an insurance company comes in and says, hey, that should have only been 5,000. Here goes your $5,000 check. And
Right.
they're stuck with a bill. So same deal is not just in our hometown, but pretty much anywhere we do work, we try and be honest with the people and let them know that we're going to try and get approvals on the front end so that they're not stuck with a bill at the end of the day.
Right. Now, did Service Master mobilize from all over the country to go to South Carolina? Did you bring a team?
Correct. So they Service Master Corporate pretty much asks all the franchise, hey, who's willing to mobilize out to this area of need? And based on the volunteers, the franchises that volunteer to go up there, we put our team together. I took it was 10 of us total. We go out there, we take our equipment, we take our vehicles, and we stay out there. In this case, we stayed in an Airbnb for the 7 weeks we were out there, and that's pretty much our office and warehouse throughout that period of time.
Wow, yeah, you would have had to drive, right? Not fly because you need all of your equipment.
Yeah, we need our equipment, so we definitely drove out there. 3 day drive is definitely tough. We worked 12 hours days, 7 days a week. We didn't have a day off, but we knew we were really helping somebody out.
Right. That's wonderful. That's good, important work. So obviously you've seen a lot in 11 years, and just out of, curiosity, the morbid me, what's kind of the most off the wall thing you've seen, I guess, without getting too graphic.
Um, the trauma jobs, those are always an eye opener. It's always, you never, as much as you try and prepare mentally to walk into one of these jobs, you just never know what you're going to encounter.
Right.
So those definitely got to be the ones. We've had it not necessarily death related, but it was someone having dialysis in their home and something malfunctioned where there was just blood throughout the whole master bedroom.
Oof. And
Yeah,
you bring in all kinds of equipment and to
equipment, and then personal protective equipment. That's the main thing, so that we're all safe as we're doing the work.
right.
Um, and then being trained more than anything,
Mhm.
knowing what to look out for and whatnot, so that we're able to be able to fulfill the customer, but while being safe as well.
Right. And I would imagine with something like that, you'd have a certain place that you'd have to drop off the
Correct. We have certain
materials.
protocols that we follow for the biohazard, trash and whatnot.
Hmm. So what's your territory? What areas do you guys serve?
So we are based out of Ventura County, but we do have license in Santa Barbara County and LA County. So we pretty much cover Lompoc, Santa Maria, east, and then we go as far east as Claremont,
Okay.
and then up north we go all the way up into Ridgecrest area.
Okay, so big territory.
Pretty much, it's roughly it comes down to about a 3 hour drive from our hometown.
Right. Do you have any advice for folks back on the insurance piece? Do you have any advice for folks just to kind of make sure they're protected, and
So the
preventative maintenance type of a thing?
preventative maintenance, I would say, when possible, definitely try and have a plumber come in and perform leak detections. If you notice any increase in your build, there could be a possibility you have a leak going on. So that's definitely one thing to look out for. Um, as far as preventative with the company they pick, I would definitely advise them to use a preferred vendor. There's a ton of companies out there, and talk to your adjuster, use a preferred vendor. Majority of the times, there's a relationship between the. We frequently see the same adjusters, so they understand who's honest and who isn't, and we're gonna not just us, but any preferred vendor is gonna be able to fulfill your needs the way you expect versus any random other company.
That's a good point. And how can folks get a hold of you guys specifically? What's your best website, email?
So the company name is Service Master Restore by Restoration Pros. Um, Service Master as a whole is Service Master Restore, but by Restoration Pros is our franchise name, franchise number 9778. And if you wanted to reach us at our office, 805-388-1409. That's going to be the best way, calling our office.
Wonderful.
Or you can contact me on my cell phone. My phone is on 24/7 at 805-750-5638.
Wonderful. Well, Cesar and CeCe, we appreciate you very much being on this episode of On the Road, and we will spread the word. And if folks have questions, we'll ask them to reach out and contact you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you. I really
Paul.
appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys.